Hi guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the human infantry box for Oathmark from Northstar military figures.
Scruffy Crow.
So inside this box we get 6 frames, 6 identical frames of 5 figures. We've got 5 torsos and then enough hand weapons, bows and spears to equip the whole lot, as well as a cool little dragon standard and a nice little selection of heads, either in matching helmets or with a variety of other bits and pieces. One of the things that really caught my eye first thing about this sprue was these square shields. For some reason I just really like that look. So when we put this together, we've got a weirdly matching selection of tools. I've got some snips, a scalpel with a fresh blade and some plastic glue. It's the Revel contactor stuff. The labels always fall off these. So I'm going to start by snipping out all the torsos. In this video we're going to concentrate on making just standard soldiers, so just hand weapons and shields. I was about to say it's been a while since I worked with a plastic kit, but no. The last plastic kit I got together was the skeletons, also from Northstar. But before that, it was definitely quite a few years since I put together like a multi-part plastic kit like this, or at least for a full unit. So these are the King's sort of personal guard. So they will all be getting swords. I said with the shields. I'm going to go with the matching helmets. So this tends to be how I start a kit like this. To take out all the parts of the sprue that I want. Put this back out of the way. And then so I'm going to go around with my knife and I'm going to clear up any sort of mold lines and stuff and any sort of sprue connections. So start with this thing and then just a scrape. Make sure everything's nice and cleaned up and then we'll get onto the construction part. I've also got a tiny little bit of sandpaper to hand and then these bottom ones, just scoot around on there and that gives me a nice rough surface to attach onto the bases we'll be using. Okay, so now I've got all my little piles and they are tidied up. We can start putting things together. So apart from my champion here, or my officer, everything I've sort of randomly assigned. But what I like to do is to put each model together individually. So if I do want to swap a head or change an arm, I can do that on the fly. Because I kind of want every model to have a proper pose, to look right, and sort of be a little individual in their own right, despite the fact I'll be probably making 19 of these guys with probably more or less the same 4 or 5 heads and the same or similar weapons. But this is the one unit in the army where I want things to look uniform. Alright, I've got my plastic glue. Now this is not the way to unblock a plastic glue nozzle. Don't try this at home. We need a relatively small amount on there. And this is for the raised up arm. Now you only get 4 swords plus this one on the sprue. But that's not going to be too much of a problem as far as swords go, because I will be using, apart from maybe the leader I guess, because I'll be making some archers from the same kit, and none of them will have swords obviously. And this is why I build them individually. It turns out that the big obvious head for the leader on the fanciest looking body doesn't really fit. It is the chainmail on the back of his neck, doesn't fit under his hood. But instead of looking to the remaining heads on this sprue, I am going to look at the barbarian sprue super quickly. I'm going to pick one of these guys to be my leader here. So there we go, it's going to be my one helmeted head in this unit, and that Frostgrave barbarian head fits on there really nicely. Okay, so there is my officer. Pretty happy with the way he's looking at the moment. One little niggle I've got with this kit then so far is his shields. Got the shield arms here, and the shield's quite cool. You've got the bar solid out on the back here, they're all detailed all the way around, which is very realistic. But when you put the arm on, there is a sort of flattish area on the back of the brace so you can attach this, but the fist's got nowhere to go. That should really be sat sort of in there, I guess. It's kind of what I've done with that one, but it doesn't connect very well. I'm not worried about them falling off or anything. I just think that there could be been a slightly better solution than that. Maybe straps that came down and sort of held the fist in place. I'd quite like that. In fact, kind of like they do on the Barbarian sprue here. You've got the little things and that actually holds the fist in place. In fact, on this one, you've even got the boss hole as well. And you've got that space there to put the fist in. So yeah, that'd be one tiny little niggle about these shields. But it's certainly not the end of the world. Alright, I'm going to go through and individually put these last 4 together. So I just popped this arm on and realised it's a lefty. I'm assuming this guy is meant to be the standard bearer. So we're actually down to 3 swords per sprue. I guess you're kind of meant to mix and match with the maces and the axes. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit more of the hang of this kit now. And we've got 2 more dynamic posed guys there. So these are going to go on these round renderer bases. I'm just quickly using a file just to quickly knock off those marks. Now, the trick I find with these is, the glue on there, is getting them sort of how they look central on the base, so looking at them straight down. We don't want them overlapping particularly in any direction. Well, I also want to make sure that the integral sort of built-in base has a little bit of room between that and the edge of the sort of base, so I can sort of work towards smoothing those together. And there they are in the tray, and I think we've got quite a nice little first rank gone in already. So I'm going to go and clip out the parts for the rest of this tray. Okay, so that is another 3 frames completely clipped, plus some extra bits. So I need to sort through all this now. This is everything off the frames, including the spears and the bows and everything. Because it's starting to annoy me, the amount of sprues half full of bits. I'd rather have the bits all separate. So yeah, I'm going to sort through all this now and clean up what I need to finish these rows. Okay, so that is all of the bits I'm going to need to finish this unit off cleaned up. I've just remembered we are only meant to be making 19 guys, so I'm just going to pick a fella at random, pop him back in the other box. So I'm being quite limited and boring about which heads I'm using. Just the ones with the little round helmets. Same with the swords, but I have included a couple of the lefty swords. And what I'm going to do is they're going to sit on this side to create like a bit of a shield wall. Left-handed people do exist, so it'd be interesting to have a couple in the unit. So to go on the opposite side of the left-handed swords, I've selected these spear arms. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to chop off the spear at the top and the bottom of the hand, and use that to hold my my shield. I think that'll look fine. Okay, we've got those guys all built up now. I'm going to leave them a little while to set. But one observation while I still remember, is it was incredibly easy to get them into sort of pretty much unique poses. There's a sort of sword arm that goes out like that, and the way the shield arms are is all quite similar. But just with a little bit of poking around and sort of feeling, trying a few different options out, you can get some quite nice dynamic poses, all different. So that aspect of the kit is still quite impressive to me. I'm still a little bit annoyed about the way the shields clip on though, or don't clip on more precisely. Okay, there is all 19 of them are back on their base. And I've gone and found my model I was going to use as my king. I've given him one of the same shields to match him up. And actually I think, yeah, he fits perfectly well. Sort of aesthetically, I think, with the rest of the guys. He's got a little bit cruder shoes, which is a bit odd. But with the style and the scale, I think he is going to look fine. And he is suitably grand, and already comes with his own hero rock. So like I said, that's the full unit now. And I'm quite impressed with the variety of the poses I was able to achieve with just that one sprue. They do look really cool actually. They're one of the coolest plastic units I've put together in a while, and they were actually quite fun to put together. No hassle there. They're not quite finished. I'm going to have to work out what I'm going to do with these banner tops. Whether or not I'm going to use the dragons that the kit comes with, or if I'm going to make something of my own. Obviously the kit doesn't just make the Soldiers like I've built here. You've got spearmen, so that'd be more or less the same parts but with the spears rather than the swords. And archers. So I'll be looking at archers a lot more closely in my next video, but I've just cleaned up these parts to build one now. Now, looking at the heads available, so we've got these armoured heads, which is no reason why you couldn't use. And there is then a couple of hooded heads. So there's that one, and a more shouty looking guy here. And the hooded heads are the ones I choose for the archers. Obviously there's nothing to stop you using the bare heads and everything else, especially seeing as one of the torsos already comes with a hood. I really like that hooded look on an archer, and I think it's a shame that, you know, such a good sprue. I think they could have done with more heads, more helmets and more hoods. Would have been another choice that I'd make if I was putting this sprue together. But we'll look at that more closely in the next video, like I said. But seeing as this is partly a review of the sprue and the kit, let's see how an archer goes together. I quite like how the hooded head blends in with the little shoulder hood thing. That isn't going to require any filling or anything. So I've had a couple of goes now, and I've been finding it fairly tricky to get these sort of pulled back bow arms to sort of line up, because if you line up the two pieces against the torso, you end up with the arrow on the wrong side. So that seems to go together easier on that side of the bow. I'm trying to remember my videos. I know Shad from Shadiversity did a whole range of videos on which side the arrow would go on in a medieval archery, which I might have to a look at again. But yeah, getting these to line up on the body without there being gaps and it be on the other side doesn't seem possible. So that's one little interesting niggle about this kit as well. One I'll have to look into before the archer kit. Aesthetically though, I do think this kit makes pretty nice archers, so I'm fairly happy with that. So as far as the plastic kit goes, I am happy. So for the review part, I give this kit 4 marks. So there's a couple of niggles about the way the shields go on, and for me they could have put a few more heads on there, but really that's just me being picky. This is a fabulous kit, and I even like it more than the skeletons, which I said was the last kit I put together. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments, maybe subscribe for more, and as ever, thanks for watching, bye!